guys, I'm Heather, and I'm the oldest. She's the emotional one.
Is it Bruce Dickinson?
Man, why? I mean, like, you hadn't even read the list. You're like, Heather.
Hey guys, I'm Ben. I'm the middle child.
And he's the practical one.
What I need you to understand is that you have lost all credibility when we get to the cutting stage.
Why?
Kenny Chesney was your second pick.
I'm Beth, and I'm the baby.
She's also the swing vote.
My picks are great. And if you don't believe it, just ask me. I won't argue with you because I'm mature.
Together, we make the Music List podcast. And we welcome you back to another episode of the Music List podcast. I am Ben. With me my sisters Beth and Heather. I don't know why we're already laughing, but we are siblings that argue while making music lists. That's the shtick. That's what we do. What are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at you. Welcome back to the music. And we're back. I don't know. It just hit me. It's funny. Sorry.
Well, you know, we got through with Thanksgiving and just had a good time. Yeah. By the way, let's go ahead and get these accolades out of the way.
Oh, they'll be back.
The Music List podcast is now an award-winning podcast.
We told you weren't going to be able to tell us nothing.
We have been voted the best music podcast based out of the state of Arkansas. And actually, we were not the only people in the category. I mean, I think there were like 6 or 7 different nominations. And so first of all, we want to thank all of you out there for listening. We want to thank everybody that took the time to vote. There were thousands of votes, which meant that we actually got votes outside of our immediate friends and family. So some of y'all out there voted for us. We are extremely appreciative. And we're excited as we finish season 3 to start season 4 as an award-winning podcast. That is probably something that you will hear us say from now until eternity.
Yeah, we want to thank the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative.
Absolutely, they put on a great production.
Yeah, it was legit.
It was
like dinner and tablecloths and
I wore a jacket. I wore a blazer. Yeah. And.
Go up on stage and get, like, literally.
Yeah, and they played music while you walked up, like it was the Grammys or the Emmys or something. You know, so it was really cool. Nobody, there was no music to tell us to get off the stage that we were taking too long. I didn't see anybody get the hook or anything like that. But no, it was a great experience and really some very interesting podcasts out of the state of Arkansas. Friendly people. I did not meet one person in that whole room that gave me any sort of inkling that it's not somebody I would want to spend time with. Very, very good group of people, and so had a good time. Unfortunately, Beth was not able to attend, but we accepted the
award on her behalf.
And I think it's at Heather's house right now. The actual award.
It is.
So now we've got to win 2 more.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
we do.
So we can each have one. So.
I do have custody right now.
So,
because we used my car.
Well, we usually record at your house. So.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So.
And
it's in the studio.
And most of the equipment was paid for with your money.
Yeah.
so thank you for that.
Yeah, so I'm keeping the award.
But in all seriousness, no, we do thank everybody that voted for us. Hopefully, we'll continue to have you listen along and vote for us.
That was my throat.
That was you this time.
That was your throat.
So that was a gift to us.
Yes.
From you. So thank you. Now we want to give you some ideas for some. If you've got some musical folks in your family, you don't know what to give. This episode, it's kind of a no skips album, but these are great gift ideas, great albums to gift someone because they are great albums from the first track to the last track. There are no filler tracks. That was kind of the defining characteristic of what we were looking for. Because when you talk about great albums that make good gifts, that can go a lot of ways. I mean, number one, there could just be a great historical album that maybe is not great from top to bottom, but it is a historical album. If you get one of the early Sun Records albums, it may not be great from front to finish, but if you get an early Johnny Cash album or an early Elvis album, there's historical value to those original pressings. There are some that you buy just for the album cover. There are some great album covers out there, and they're great to have on your shelf, or they're great to have in your now spinning album cover holder, even if you're not spinning the album, but it just looks good. But this is musically, we wanted the first track all the way down to the last track to be great. This is for music lovers. So this is a great gifts for music lovers. And instead of because they're all great gifts, and this is a gift idea that you may be getting close to Christmas, you don't know who to gift something to. We're not going to do a 9 to 5. We're actually going to give 5 albums a piece. So you're going to have 15 album ideas, and you may have somebody that likes this genre of music, and you're like, oh, that would be a great gift for them. Maybe you want to introduce somebody to a kind of music that they've not had before. So we're going to have 15 great albums. We're each going to select 5, talk about why it's a great album, why it would be a good gift, and why does it fit the no skip rule, basically. But you may want to write this down, because if you've got some people on your Christmas list that you're not finished, maybe you've got some ideas here moving forward. So we're not going to snake around this time, because we just kind of basically made sure that we're not going to trip over anybody and list the same album twice. But so we're not going to snake it. Heather will draft first each round. Beth will draft second each round, and I'll draft third. And by the end of it, we'll have 15 albums for you to look at and see if there's anybody on your Christmas list that could use some of this wonderful, wonderful music. So without further ado, now we're bringing in French. Heather, what's your first great album?
Okay. I picked mainly albums that I think that every music lover should have in their collection. And the first one that I chose is Abbey Road by the Beatles. Album, their last studio album before Let It Be, which was their final swan song. There are, of course, you could pick many Beatles albums that are benchmarks in music history, in pop music, in songwriting, in production. This particular album, I don't know if it's just because it's not just because it's a sentimental favorite, but it very much is. This was one of the first albums that our dad loved this album. And I remember one Sunday after, it wasn't the first time that we listened to this album front to back, but he took me with him. He was going to check on some signs that his friend who was in a political campaign, were just checking on signs, make sure they were still up and, in good shape and everything. And he put in the cassette, and we drove around and we listened to it from front to back, and he would stop and he would point out certain musical elements. And it was really, I was probably 7th grade, maybe. And it was the first time that I'd listened to many albums front to back, but to really stop and have a conversation about each little piece and how they fit together and how they transition, because this was in the era still when the way albums were crafted, there was still it wasn't during the streaming area where you got one song at a time. And even if you had like 11 great songs, back then it was very much about how the albums flow together. Now, especially on this album, on the second side, that medley is, it starts with Here Comes the Sun, and then it goes into Because, and those two are separate, and then Because transitions into that medley, which is like 16 minutes long. It's basically the whole second side. And those probably 8 or 9 little short 2-ish minutes pieces, they all flow together. And do they make a whole lot of sense? No. Are they all connected? Yes. And there were only, I think, 2 singles off of this album, Come Together and Something. But the first side is Come Together, Something, Maxwell Silverhammer, Oh Darlin', Octopus's Garden, I Want You, She's So Heavy. I mean, that's stellar. And then on side 2 is Here Comes the Sun and Because, that goes into the medley of You Never Give Me Your Money, Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, The End, and then Her Majesty's, the little hidden track at the end, which Dad always pointed out, which we loved. But I think that of all, in my opinion, of all the Beatles albums, this is the most cohesive, really just, I can hear something. It's just the most cohesive unit. Every song is stellar. So, that's my first one, Abbey Road.
And honestly, it is probably one of about, I would say, just a handful of albums that if you have a vinyl collection, you really don't have a vinyl collection unless you have Abbey Road. It is kind of that way. Even if you don't like the Beatles, it is kind of a staple that you have to have Abbey Road in your vinyl collection. I think if Lars has a vinyl collection, I bet he's got Abbey Road in there, or whatever the case. And, before I mentioned iconic album covers, it doesn't get more iconic than the Abbey Road album with, Paul with no shoes and the whole bit.
I did not realize until I was doing a little research. Of course, everybody knows the album cover and everybody sees Paul barefoot and everything and the whole Paul is dead craze. And the rumor, I didn't realize that there were rumors attached to the symbolism of the other 3. So John was supposed to be he's in white, so he was supposed to be a religious figure. Ringo in a dark suit is like the Undertaker, Paul barefoot, and then George is in denim like the Gravedigger. So that was kind of something
interesting
new that I learned. What I love on this album is everything. The styles are so different. The difference in I Want You versus Oh Darlin' or Maxwell Silverhammer. It goes from almost musical theater to 50s doo-wop to, Because is very ethereal and stuff. They just, and some of these songs were written at the time of other albums and didn't get put on those albums because, they wanted to put them on this one. Octopus's Garden, I don't know. I got nothing for you. I don't know where that came from.
It's Ringo, man.
But it's so weird, and I love it. Love it. So anyway, I think that if you don't have this, or you know somebody that's a music lover that doesn't have this, they need to have it.
Yeah.
All right. Beth, do you have a vinyl collection?
I have some. Yeah, we don't play them as much, but I do have a handful that we kind of started collecting.
So this is a good episode for you.
Yeah. Yes, I can get some ideas for myself or to put on my Elfster or my Amazon wish list.
What's Elfster?
Oh, let me tell you about Elfster. Okay, so Elfster is an app where you can log in and you have people that you can add, like friends and family, and they put their wish list there. And it works a lot like an Amazon wish list, where you say, okay, I bought this for someone. So it shows to other people, like, if we all had Elfster and Heather bought me something and she says, okay, mark Beth's, request as purchased, then you would know that it's already been bought.
It's kind of like
it's kind of like when
works off an app.
A baby registry
like
or
a
something.
Yes,
like a
it's kind of like that. Yes, but you can put in, we all buy presents for all of each other. But if we ever started, because our family is growing and growing, and there's a lot of people in our family. So if we ever decided, hey, we just want to do a one-time gift exchange, here's your, instead of drawing names out of a hat, it will generate the name for you and say, okay, your person is Ben.
And here's their list.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so
follow us for more holiday tips and tricks.
Yeah. So I did go based off the no skips rule or concept, but I didn't quite go classic albums like Heather is. They're classic to me, some of these. No. My album. Whoa. That wasn't an age joke, but you weren't even alive.
Man.
My albums that I chose to me they're some of them are historically, like, in my history.
Mm-hmm.
Heather and I we're from the 1900s.
Yeah. Well, so am I. But anyway, and I do have a couple of newer ones. So I tried to think of, for a person who loves a different kind of music, what would I say is a good gift? So for the hard rock fan in your life, I think you would be wise to get them Gifts from the Holy Ghost by Dorothy.
Hail, hail the black sheep. We are blood, we are family. Call me an outcast, call me a freak. Watch those bullets ricochet straight off of me, 'cause I belong where right is wrong. No love calls like the good book say. Don't give it what people think. I march along to a different song. Oh, I feel it deep in my bones. I was born to break every curse, every chain. So I'm singing.
Interestingly enough, you could hear that they censored something. That was the D word. It wasn't the bigger emergency word that you might have been thinking it was. But one of the points I was going to make, that lyrically it's actually pretty clean overall. So, which you can't say for a lot of hard rock releases anymore. Especially, I kind of put them in the same vein as like Hailstorm and stuff like that. She has a really she has a great rock vocal. There are a lot of really good guitar solos. She's got a lot of soul. She's got some grit to her voice. She can belt really great low and high, and she just has a great voice. But much differently from Hailstorm, you could play this with your kids in the car.
Yeah.
So it's mostly family friendly. She's got love songs on here, a song that deals with grief and loss. Got those anger songs that are really like confidence builders, like I'm on top of the world kind of thing. And songs like Black Sheep, which are really, unity, like Creed 1, kind of rock anthems. So, and it's got the element of girl power, which I love. Y'all know I say that all the time.
Yep.
And it's great driving music. You got some pump up jams, really get you going. Pedal to the metal, you will get a speeding ticket. For me, that's also like Michael Jackson. That was my first big ticket. I was listening to Michael Jackson once, and I think it was Dirty Diana or something, and I was going.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I saw blue lights they were small, and I was like, oh, they got somebody. But I had gone past them so
It's
quickly
me.
that by
I'm
the
that
time they
somebody.
turned them on, they were small. But so my favorite songs, if you don't even go listen, so if you're gonna just not buy the full album or the vinyl or whatever, and you're like, I may just go listen to a couple on streaming. I really like Top of the World, Black Sheep, and Hurricane. So those are my song recommendations off of that album.
I love her.
Oh, she's great. She was my top listened to artist last year on my Spotify Wrapped. I'll be interested to see how that shakes out this year, too.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back in time a little bit, back to Heather's time.
Dang.
Oh,
No,
it got in the Wayback Machine.
It's actually before you. And this album is a no skip album because you will miss part of the plot. It's
I bet I know what it is.
it's Jesus Christ Superstar, and we're going to listen to a little bit of the great, in my opinion, best rock vocalist in history, Ian Gillan.
Whoa.
I said what I said.
Would I be more noticed than I ever was before? Would the things I've said and done matter anymore? I'd have to know my Lord. I'd have to know my Lord. I'd have to see my Lord. I'd have to see my Lord. If I die, what will be my reward? If I die, what will be my reward? Have to know my Lord. Have to know my Lord. Should I die? Oh, why should I die? Can you show me now that I would not be killed in vain? Show me just a little of your omnipresent reign. Show me there's a reason for your wanting me to die. You're far too keen on where and how and not so hot on wire. All right. Just watch me die. See how I die. See how I die.
Now, there are multiple Jesus Christ Superstar albums. I recommend getting the original. It says original Broadway cast. I don't know that Ian Gillan ever actually traveled with the original
I think it's
Broadway
the London cast.
but it's
Yeah.
it's the brown one with the facing angels. That's the one you want to
That's the
get.
gold
And
standard
listen,
right there.
no disrespect at all to Ted Neely,
Oh, man.
who is amazing. But like I said, in my opinion, and I've actually on the way to the award ceremony, we were talking about Deep Purple, and since we've started this podcast, I have gotten a much deeper appreciation for Deep Purple than that was no pun intended. A much deeper appreciation for Deep Purple since we started this, and almost Deep Purple and rock almost made this list.
Yeah.
And Machine Head almost made this list.
Yeah.
Machine Head's probably my favorite. We listened to him. I think Machine Head we listened to. But I mean, 5 of no skip albums. I mean, it's hard to narrow it down.
And full disclosure, on the way home from the award ceremony, Ben and I had a complete sing along from the overture to the end. We sang all the parts.
Because it gets late. I mean, we're coming back, so we had to. We sang this Jesus Christ Superstar album from start to finish all the way home. But so,
Nerd.
It is so
but here's the thing, like. We literally know every single word in every single song.
And there are a lot of words.
There are a lot of words.
A lot.
And I didn't care. We're singing Caiaphas. We don't care.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
One thing I'll say for him, Jesus is cool.
Oh, that's such a good one.
So just now, okay, I've said I could go on and on about Ian Gillan. He's phenomenal. Andrew Lloyd Webber, in case you don't know who Andrew Lloyd Webber is, he also did Cats. He also did Evita. He also did
a little thing called Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. I mean, so he's, I would imagine the biggest name in the history of Broadway when it comes to Broadway plays.
As far as numbers,
wouldn't you
might
think?
be the most.
Cats alone is number 1 all time.
Not anymore.
What?
It's still longest running.
It got bumped by Les Mis, I think.
Oh, for longest running.
Oh, okay.
I think it's long.
I think so.
Or,
They don't, but it's off Broadway now.
Yeah.
It's hard, and it's hard to go by ticket sale numbers because tickets cost more now. So I mean, like the gross, the newer movies,
but sheer number of
newer movies do better than old movies, and newer plays do better than old plays. But anyway, he's a freaking legend. And as good as Andrew Lloyd Webber is, the conversation we've always had in the Dial House, Tim Rice was the star of the duo because it's the lyrics that are so daggum good. And Tim Rice, in his own right, Joseph and Technicolor Dreamcoat, Lion King, so he's, he's had his major successes as well. But yeah, so you can't skip it because it's an opera, and you will miss part of the plot. In fact, one of my greatest wins in the history of college, a life win. I'm not going to say throw her under the bus. Dr. Adolfi was my music appreciation teacher, and she said, she asked the class, "Does anybody here have a favorite opera?" Because, what college kid says I've got a favorite opera? I sure do. I sure do. She said, well, technically, that's a musical. I said, no, technically, it's a rock opera. And she said, well, the professionals
call it a sung-through musical.
The academics don't consider this to be an opera. They consider it to be a musical. I said, well, the authors considered it to be an opera. And I brought the CD, and it says right here, a rock opera.
And next we're going to watch Tommy.
But speaking of, Jesus Christ Superstar precedes it precedes Tommy, precedes Joseph Technicolor Dreamcoat. A lot of I believe it is the first rock opera that was written, produced, put on. So it does have that historical significance. Now, what I will say is we are also Christians here at this table. It is awful theology.
Yeah.
It is not a theological book. It is seen through the eyes of Judas, and I don't know how familiar you all are with the Gospels, but Judas turns out to be one of the bad guys. So
an unreliable narrator.
Don't look at this as a point of truth, but it is interesting to see it through the eyes of Judas and how things unfold. But what I find interesting is even through the eyes of Judas, there are signs of Jesus' divinity that Judas never sees. He foretells in the opera that he will be betrayed. He foretells in the opera that Peter will deny him 3 times. All of these things come true. Now, here's where the really bad theology happens is Judas dies, and then he comes back and sings Superstar, and he doesn't know what happened. I have a feeling at this point, Judas kind of knows what the gig is.
Yeah.
So,
and probably didn't get a free pass from wherever he was at the time.
So just real, I don't want to. I know we got to get on to the next ones, but what I would also say is that the characters are so unique in this. I love Herod. I love Herod's song. And I've seen it portrayed in a lot of different ways. I mean, Alice Cooper, I thought, did a really good job in the live version.
Yeah.
I really like this version. I love this pilot. This is my favorite pilot. This is my favorite Judas.
Murray Head.
Yeah, Murray Head. This is so. I mean, it is my favorite version of this. Now, if all you can find is the soundtrack to the movie, hey, it's excellent. Also, but I would get the. I believe it says the original Broadway cast. I think's what it says.
I think it's the London cast. It says the London cast.
The London cast.
But
you get the original with Ian Gillan, Murray Head, and you will not be disappointed. So that's my first pick. And it's no skip because you can't skip because it's all plot.
But it is great. I mean, even though the theology is whack, if you have a strong basis in the scripture, it is really good fodder for discussion.
Right.
Among other, I would say, as a Christian, I wouldn't sit down and have a non-believer listen to this because it's not factual. But for other people that are believers as well that might want to, kind of talk about some different perspectives of things, I think it's really interesting the way some of the people come at the events. And because when you're in it, you don't necessarily see the big picture, of course. And so
and there's some high drama. The conversations between Jesus and Judas that happen throughout the opera are really, really good.
And the Pharisees
and their conversations, and then intertwined in there is some scripture, like in Hosanna, where he says the rocks and stones themselves would start to sing. So there's like just enough scripture in there.
Yeah.
But but from a musical standpoint, if you take the theology aside and you take the obviously you've got. You're mixing orchestral music with rock elements, guitar, heavy bass, all that kind of stuff, and then you add these rock singers on top of it. It's just an incredible album from start to finish.
It is.
Round 2.
Okay, round 2. Listen, all of my albums are old, and that's just what it is because I'm old. So here we are.
You said it, not me.
I'm 50. I'm putting it all out there. But
what did Gundy, Coach Gundy from Oklahoma State, he said, I'm a man. I'm 40.
Ooh, shut up. Yeah. Gosh. Anyway, my second pick, I also think that every person alive should have this in their record collection. It's Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. This is actually the very first track on the album. Examples that don't normally get played. This is the very first track. It's called Secondhand News. It was inspired. The beginning of it is actually inspired by Jive Talking by the Bee Gees, and you can hear that. So here's the track listing for Rumors. Side 1 is Secondhand News, then Dreams, Never Going Back Again, Don't Stop, Go Your Own Way, and Songbird, which...
Oh, I love that song.
Side 2 is The Chain, You Make Lovin' Fun, I Don't Want to Know, Oh Daddy, and Gold Dust Woman. Now, Silver Springs is sometimes on later releases. It was actually the B-side of Go Your Own Way, which is interesting because if you listen to those back to back, I mean, that Go Your Own Way is basically Lindsey Buckingham's big middle finger to Stevie Nicks. And then she answers that with Silver Springs, which, man.
That's a dagger right there.
Yeah. So I love that. It won Album of the Year in 1978. It entered the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2003, the National Recording Registry for albums that are historically, aesthetically, culturally significant in 2017. In 2020, it was placed on the Rolling Stones 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. You know, this is one of those, you know, I think Sean said once that this is probably the most played album overall in our home. I don't dispute that. I mean, just the drama that was going on and the absolute chaos in their personal lives. Christine McVie and John McVie had just divorced when they started this. Then, of course, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were in the middle of a breakup while the recording was going on. Mick Fleetwood, his wife had just cheated on him and left him. And then, allegedly, he and Stevie start hooking up. And they would literally get there, they said, at 7 o'clock, you know, have a big feast, do a bunch of cocaine, start recording about 2 o'clock. And, you know, and this is what they all made when they were completely, you know, jacked up on cocaine. So I don't know. I mean, you can hear just the raw emotion. It's great for people going through a breakup. It's great for people healing from a breakup. There are, then there are these sweet moments like Songbird and Oh Daddy. And it is a piece of work that is just, in as far as songwriting goes, it's just insane. And I don't have there's not a whole lot to say. It's probably one of the, in many people's top 10, you know, albums of all time.
They're a great folk band.
Lord. Next, bet.
Someone going joke.
Oh, no.
Someone going.
Rumors.
Ongoing joke.
Why do you think they're a folk band?
Well,
because you just want to tick me off. I mean,
that's part of it for sure.
Cool.
I mean, that's definitely a big part of it.
Is that bad?
No, I mean, I wouldn't call them a folk band. I would call them
They're folksy.
You're just saying that. They really started out as a blues band, and then when Lindsey and Stevie
I went over
came
that in my
she's-
Arkansas history presentation.
Yeah. I mean, so they...
Without Arkansas, Fleetwood Mac may not exist.
I think a lot of people see them as folksy because of Stevie Nicks' aesthetic. She has kind of that, you know...
She's a witch.
Yeah, I mean, well, she I could see in today's world. Do I want to go here?
Do you?
She might wear wolf ears today.
Oh
My gosh.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I don't think she's that kind of.
If she was born today.
I think she'd be goth today. Goth-ish. Emo. I mean, I don't know. You don't have...
I think she would be she would be a crystals person. She would be a person who thinks you can be healed by crystals. And no offense if you think that. But I disagree.
You're going straight to wolf ears.
I think she'd wear
Straight
wolf
to
ears.
and a tail. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think.
I knew somebody in college who did that. I'm telling you, I don't think Stevie Nicks is that kind of guy.
I don't either.
That kind of girl. But because I've seen that. Well, I mean, you see it too. I guess you have people probably at the school.
But they come from such different. All of the members come from such different backgrounds. Christine McVie, you know, is classically trained. And then Lindsey Buckingham, he has such a unique style. And then Stevie is just, she's living in her Stevie world. And, you know, I think I wouldn't call them a folk band, but if that makes you feel better, go ahead.
It does make me feel better.
Okay.
Like all over.
Well, that's a good transition because my next band has some folk elements. So for the fan of somebody who likes rock, folk, southern rock, they have blues elements too. Need to Breathe is one of my favorite bands, period. And I've seen them like 4 or 5 times live, and they're one of the best live shows. They sound great. They're really entertaining. So I have chosen from 2009. So this year I graduated high school. So it's probably, you know, it hits a nerve for me because I was growing up in that time. But from 2009, The Outsiders.
Locking me up, I got bound by a cold lady. She's locking me up, she's locking me up. I am down in a hole, baby. I'm about to give up, just about to give up. I got bound by a cold lady. She's locking me up, she's locking me up. And this pain I feel won't set me free from you. 'Cause I'm a prisoner in your heart. It's taking it slower than I locked up heart. Slow, but I was caught off guard.
So Bear Reinhardt has one of my favorite voices. So he's great with Need to Breathe. He also has a solo project called Wilder Woods, and that's a little bit more experimental. So if you like some more, he kind of just gets away from that super rock based stuff that Need to Breathe does a lot of the time. And really does some cool stuff there. So I recommend checking out Wilder Woods. But Need to Breathe. So there are a lot of rock pieces to this, but they'll also use banjos, harmonicas, pedal steel. Like they'll bring in anything, and they have like they use gang vocals a lot. Their bassist Seth, he sings some crazy harmonies. He has a great, like really strong high end harmony that adds a lot to these songs. So you've got all of those folksy instruments that are used, but some really good rock grooves. There's even a bass solo later on this song. This was Prisoner. And so they're just a really creative band that they evolve really well. And kind of like Paramore, I think they keep their essence of who they are with each album, but each album is really distinct from the one before it. And so I think that they grow well, but you don't lose who they are as a band if you like their other stuff. It's not like, you know, Taylor Swift when she went pop and she released 1989. That's something completely different than what she had been doing before. So if you were really into what she was doing, you might not really like the next one. But I think they have a really organic evolution with their albums. They are Christians. They're not a Christian band per se. They are Christians in a band. But a lot of their lyrics in their music are faith-based, but they do also have songs like this one was about a relationship, about a woman. But
is this the album with Stones Under Rushing Water on it?
Yes, which I love. This also, if you have heard a Need to Breathe, you may have heard Washed by the Water. That's on this album. And that was pretty big for them. That was probably their first big hit. But yeah, I love this album. My favorite songs on this one are Through Smoke. They have a line in that one which is relevant now, when the answers and the truth take different sides. You know, like what do you do at that point? And so even as somebody in high school, it was really like their lyrics are very rich. And that's, we've talked about this before. We grew up being a lyrics focused family. So the poetry in it is great. And I think a member that they don't have anymore, Bear's brother, Bo, he wrote a lot of the stuff until the time he left the band. But just great lyricism there. So Through Smoke, Girl Named Tennessee, that's a really fun one. And then Prisoner, the one that you heard here, kind of some of my favorite standout songs. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit here. We're going to do something. You may not have seen this coming from me, but I believe that the 1990s was the best era of rap. I don't think it's close. Oh. And one of my favorite albums, and so this is one, like if you've got somebody that's, let's say, 30 years old or younger, maybe even 35 or younger, they probably don't appreciate Tupac. Or they may not even, like I've got a lot of kids wearing Tupac shirts, but they cannot name a single song that's on there.
Yeah.
Tupac has been my favorite rapper since I was in school, since I was in junior high. And this particular album, it's a double album, so you get twice the amount of songs. It's All Eyes on Me.
We used to be like distant cousins, fighting, playing dozens, whole neighborhood buzzing. No, that we wasn't. Used to catch us on the roof or behind the stairs. I'm getting blitzed and I reminisce on all the times we shared. Besides bumping and grinding, wasn't nothing on our mind. In time, we learned to live a life of crime. Rewind me back to a place was much too young to know. I caught a felony loving the way the guns blow. And even though we separated, you told me you wait. Don't give nobody my loving while I be locked up state. I kissed my mama goodbye and wiped the tears from my lonely eyes. Said I'll return, but I gotta fight to fix the ride. Don't shed a tear. Mama, I ain't happy here. I blew trial, no more smiles. For a couple of years, they got me going max. I'm knocking busters on their backs in my cell, thinking, hell, I know one day I'll be back. But as soon as I touch down, I told my girl I'll be there. So prepare to get loved down. My homies wanna kick it.
I love that.
I'm just laughing at you. Y'all play too many games. And I ain't mad at you.
I'm mad at you. Oh, okay. So, 1996, the first double album in hip hop history. And here's what's great about this album. When you look at all of the people that participated in this album, it is wild. So if you just go through the track list, so he's got Snoop Dogg and Nate Dogg on All About You. Nate Dogg again on Scandalous. He's got Method Man on Got My Mind Made Up. He's got Casey and JoJo.
Oh, I love
How
Casey
Do You Want to
and
Do
JoJo.
It? He's got Snoop again on Two of America's Most Wanted. He gets DJ Quick in Hearts of Men. He gets, let's see, I know that there's Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre does California Love, which is the big super hit off of this. And so Danny Boy on this particular song, I Ain't Mad at You. And then that's just the first side. George Clinton is with him on Can't See Me. And then, it's just, it's an Richie Rich does a compilation. All Eyes on Me is probably my favorite song off the track. There's just not about a minute and a half section that we can play.
Right.
and not lose the E for, if you see E on a podcast, it does not mean for everyone. It is E for explicit, and so we don't want to get the E rating. So now, first of all, is you got to think it's really hard to have a no skip album on when you have 40 minutes of song, one disc. But this has 4 sides. It's 2 discs. 2 sides on 2 discs is 4 sides, 2 times 2. And so to be able to
Thanks for that.
No skips, and just all the compilations, the ability. I mean, how are you going to get Tupac on an album, George Clinton on an album, Casey and JoJo on an album, Snoop on an album,
Right.
Nate Dogg on an album, Dr. Dre on an album? That was the power of Tupac, and this was also a time when what I really like about 90s gangster rap was that it was not necessarily glorifying what was happening in the streets. It was just a reality. It was autobiographical. Did I say that right? Autobiographical. Is that okay?
Yeah.
of what these guys were living, and unfortunately for Tupac, I mean, to the point that he was murdered.
Yeah.
So there was always where I felt like a lot of rappers, and it's true today, but in the 90s there was a lot of cussing just for the sake of cussing. Like, where can I throw out a cuss word? You know, what's going to make me sound hard, or whatever the case. Every single word that Tupac says has a meaning, has a purpose. And so if he cussed, it's because that was, in his opinion, the exact right word to use. It wasn't superfluous. It wasn't just throwing words out there to try to sound like he's Billy Bad A. You know, I mean, that was the word
poetry.
to use. It was he was a poet. I mean, you can buy books of his poetry today. Yeah. And so there is Tupac's songs were more poetic than almost any other rapper that's ever been there. I mean, because he was just a natural poet. But I'm also a big fan of his intensity. He does not take a word off. There is an intensity, there's a bite behind every single word that he says. And he can be hard, and he can make you feel like he's going to put a cap in your, you know what?
That's not very hard of you.
I'm not hard. I don't pretend to be hard. But then, you know, he can do I Ain't Mad at You, or on a different album like Dear Mama, which is, you know, obviously very touching and moving. So there's a lot of depth to Tupac, but I wore this CD out. I sure did. So this would be a great gift if you've got a hip hop fan that is a little younger, and maybe they don't know the classics. Maybe they don't. There's like Snoop Dogg. Okay, Doggy Style. It is what it is. That's the name of the CD. Doggy Style. You know, would be another good one. The Chronic by Dr. Dre would be good. Straight Outta Compton, NWA would be good.
Nothing they hear on those albums are going to be worse than what they.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just telling you, if you've got a kid or a nephew or whatever, a niece that thinks that Kendrick Lamar or Drake are the greatest rappers of all time, you need to sit them down with some of these 90s guys, because I think that was the greatest era. And now I know some of that's also when I was in school, and that's when I was listening to it. But I do think that there's a sense of poetry to this time period, and an authenticity in the 90s that maybe does not exist as much today. So that's my pick. All Eyes on Me, Tupac.
Oh boy! So we're gonna kick it back a few years from that. Shocker.
Oh, I should have done California Love.
Oh, because that would be great, because my third pick is Hotel California. You know I'm going to put an Eagles album in there, of course. This is Victim of Love. Today, this is my favorite Eagles song. If you ask me on a different day, it's probably also on this album and Wasted Time. But today, it's Victim of Love, which was not a single. So, 1977, their fifth studio album, 3 singles, off of this. There were the first 3 tracks: Hotel California, New Kid in Town, and Life in the Fast Lane. And then it goes on to Wasted Time. It's a short album. That's the whole first side. Then the second side starts with a Wasted Time reprise, and then Victim of Love, Pretty Maids All in a Row, Try and Love Again, and The Last Resort. This is one of those albums that I feel like you really need to listen to it in its entirety and in order. It's about it's a concept album. It's about hedonism and excess and consumerism and progress and respect for the environment and the land. And it goes a lot deeper than just, when you start Hotel California, a lot of different interpretations of Hotel California. And so, it kind of starts off really dark, kind of mysterious. And then you're just kind of following this path of this, I kind of picture it as somebody's life, and just ultimately, the last track is The Last Resort, which has one of the best ending lines. They call it paradise. I don't know why you call someplace paradise. Kiss it goodbye. And it's a short journey to go on. It's not a long album. As a matter of fact, last time we saw the Eagles, they did Hotel California as in its entirety as the first set of their show. They just played it straight through. And I literally cannot count how many times I've seen the Eagles at this point. They never, ever, ever disappoint. And this album in particular is just start to finish. I don't know. I mean, this is the Eagles album I would choose. And there are, even over, in my opinion, Eagles Live, either of the greatest hits albums. I think that this album is a better piece of work, partly because of the thought put behind the placement of the songs and really kind of what's unfolding as you listen. So, and such just a perfect example of their songwriting abilities, their harmonies, their who they choose to sing what. It has to be in there. So this would be definitely on my Desert Island albums, and I think rock fans would need to own it.
And here's the interesting thing about the Eagles is they stole Poco's bassist twice.
Yeah.
Randy Meisner and then Timothy Schmidt.
Yeah.
And what's really frustrating is I feel like their best lineup was their last album, The Long Run, because that's the one that had Timothy Schmidt, and he really added another vocal dynamic to what they could do. And then, of course, Don Felder and Glenn Frey got into it, and they couldn't, and the band broke up. But Hotel California, you got Don Felder and Joe Walsh in the same band. That is crazy.
Yeah.
How good they both are. This is one of my favorite albums. If you didn't include it, I was going to include it. Because it's one of my favorite albums. Yeah. And I want to say this. All these people, now John Parham gets a pass because he's been super consistent about not liking the Eagles for as long as I can remember. Yeah. Okay. But this bandwagon nonsense of these people that are all of a sudden, I don't like the Eagles. This is relatively new. I don't know if it's Vince Gill. I don't know. I don't know why they picked Vince Gill for that spot. They already kind of had a reputation of being kind of a country rock band, and they pick he's bluegrass. I mean, he knows bluegrass. If they were going to get a country guy, I would have much preferred it to be like Travis Tritt, somebody that had some.
I don't think he could blend
Somebody
the
that
way
had
that
some
Vince can.
some. I would have then preferred to go get Huey Lewis.
Oh my God.
Honestly,
What the heck
now
are
wait
you
a minute.
talking about?
You don't think Huey Lewis would do a better job?
No.
On
Anything?
on the Glenn
No.
Fry stuff?
No.
Oh yeah.
No, listen.
Yeah.
They
Vince Gill he's a not as good version as Timothy Schmidt.
I'm telling you, he does
that's a hot take.
fantastic job on the blends. He is very, very respectful of the original stuff. And then they bring in Deacon Fry for a lot of those things, who looks and sounds exactly like his dad. It's crazy. But I think I was not excited about the Vince Gill choice either. I wasn't until I heard it for myself. And I'm down with it.
If he was singing in a choir, yes. It's a rock and roll band.
He does a good job. He changes it. He adapts his sound.
It's a rock and roll band.
Well, I'm telling you, he does a good job.
And he there's nothing about Vince Gill that remotely looks like rock and roll sounds
But he
like rock
doesn't.
and roll.
But to his credit,
true.
he doesn't. He doesn't even try.
I know.
No, but I mean,
that's the thing. Like Glenn Fry, he's replacing Glenn Fry,
yeah.
who had a rock and roll gene in his body.
He doesn't have the look, but he does a good job with the sound. He really does.
Oh, listen, can he harmonize? 100%. But there's nothing that he can do vocally that Timothy Schmidt can't do.
Timothy Schmidt has a unique sound, and it doesn't work on things like New Kid in Town. But it does. Vince Gill, it does.
I'm
work.
saying they could have found somebody with more rock bona fides to do those songs than Vince Gill. That's my whole deal. And I don't know and they already had the reputation of being California country rock. And then what do? They go add bluegrass specialist Vince Gill to the list.
Y'all didn't think we were going to argue today, did you?
And I love the Eagles. And I like Vince Gill as a country artist. I love Vince Gill as a country artist. He and Reba are fantastic together. But I just don't think he's got any business being in the Eagles. That's all.
Okay.
But have you watched him at the Sphere? Have you watched any of some of their concerts at the Sphere? Some of the, I think people, I want to go to the Sphere so bad.
I do too. It's so cool.
Oh my gosh, it looks so cool. Just when Vince Gill's not singing. But no, for this album, which Vince Gill is not a part, 100%, I agree. Hotel California is one of my top three favorite albums of all time. Beth.
Well, let me pull the time machine a little bit closer to the current day.
Disrespectful.
It's not that much closer. It's 2009.
You were alive
again.
during Hotel California.
I was 3. Yeah.
Was it 77?
Same year as Rumors. A pretty good year for.
Well, so 2009. I had to put a Paramore album on here. Had to.
Oh, which one?
So I chose Brand New Eyes, and this one is their third album. So we can listen to a little bit of it here.
Just like
a good gift for the millennial in your life, or any emo person. I am an elder millennial.
And went through
And emo is, and I would like to.
You go through an emo stage?
Emo is not a phase.
You're still emo.
I'm the same girl. I just don't have my black hair anymore.
And the eyeliner.
Oh yeah, man, and the blue eyeshadow. I look back at some of that stuff and I'm like, girl, this was not a good look for you, but I did it. Yes. So if you know The Only Exception, that's probably the most famous song off of this album, probably the one that people know the most. It's right after Riot, which Riot has Misery Business, and a great album.
All I Wanted is on this, isn't
All
it?
I Wanted is the last track on this album. I think this album has some of her best, maybe her best vocal work. The intervals like that you heard, the just very clear jumps, she does not miss.
No, she never missed.
And she doesn't miss live either. She is insane.
And she's still
She
insane.
sounds just like that. But she's running all over the stage, dancing. She is an incredible front woman. Yes. So, and if you don't listen to anything else, go listen to All I Wanted. There is a point on that song where she's unhinged vocally. I'm like, a woman, you are inhuman. So it's a little bit more it's lyrically and musically, I think it's a little bit more interesting and mature than Riot.
Yeah.
But it's still that emo feel, emo indie alternative rock feel before they went more pop for a minute, which that I like that stuff too from them.
This was back in the days when she was singing with that. It looked like she was singing into a giant carrot, because she always had her mic.
That's why
orange tape.
That is why I bought my orange microphone, because I was like, that's my ode to Haley. I love her. So my favorite songs on this album are All I Wanted. So go listen to that one for sure. There's one called Misguided Ghosts, and that one is just, it's sad, but it's beautiful. She doesn't really do anything crazy on that one. Her voice is beautiful and pure. And then Ignorance, I think, is a really fun one to listen to. You gotta have a good anger song sometimes. So Ignorance is a good one for that. So yeah, back to. That was my freshman year of college, so that was on hardcore repeat on the drives to and from ASU for me.
Fantastic.
Ben's like, I don't know what. I don't know anything of what you're talking about.
We're going to go way back in time, even before Heather. To 1971.
Yep,
now, if you're going to have, we all agree you should have a Beatles album in your collection.
Yeah.
I think it's also important that you have a Led Zeppelin album in your collection. Now, there is a great debate upon which, if you're going to have one Led Zeppelin album, which one is it going to be? And there are several legitimate answers to that question. You want the original Led Zeppelin 1? I get it. Okay. Now, I prefer 2 and 4.
Yeah. It's 4 for
But
me.
hey, and Led Zeppelin 3 kind of gets dogged on a little bit, but there are some great songs in 3. Physical Graffiti, Houses of the Holy. I mean, like, you can make a legitimate argument for any of them. My favorite, and I actually picked up, it's not an original pressing. I think it said the copyright on it was 74, so it's not an original 1971 pressing. But I have a Led Zeppelin 4 album, and it frickin' rocks, dude.
Yep.
There's John Bonham. because I'm not Robert Plant. But this particular album has such range in it. Like, this is obviously like pure rock and roll. Black Dog, which got absolutely screwed 2 episodes ago. Or was it the last episode?
It was the last one.
episode.
Yeah, it was the last episode. Just absolutely hosed was the lead track of this of this
I'm glad you've
album.
moved on. Though.
I'm not, and I'm holding a grudge. I didn't get a single song on the top 5.
No, you did, right?
No.
Oh.
Somehow Black Dog, Painted Black. And what was my other one? It was
No, let me consult.
I mean, and we put in like some nonsense in there. I mean, utter nonsense.
Black Knight is the other one you chose.
Just absurd.
Yeah, so you can't even make an argument for that.
Yeah, but Painted Black and Black Dog, what got in?
Blackbird by the Beatles.
Okay, I see that. That's fair enough.
Back in Black.
Okay, fair enough.
Blackwater.
No, sir. No, sir. No way. No way Blackwater deserved to go in over Painted Black or Black Dog.
Well, you're the one who was like, I love that pick.
I did love that pick, but I didn't love enough to draft it over Painted Black or Black Dog.
Oh my God.
What
Me
was
and Heather
for?
did. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse.
Oh my God.
I knew you'd be great about that. Oh, and here's the one you're really going to like. Black Hole Sun.
Which is, it's not even the best Black song by Soundgarden.
Well.
Okay. Anyway, so
Anyway.
this is great. This is a great episode because Led Zeppelin can't get screwed out of this one. Like, I don't know. It's all kind of like no, because we're not doing a 9 to 5 round.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean it's almost as bad as Prince. I don't know why y'all hate Prince so much. Yeah, I'll hold a grudge about that too. But anyway, point being, there are some absolute rockers like rock and roll, Black Dog. Going to California, speaking of folk, kind of has that folksy theme in it. And then, obviously, we also get, like, When the Levee Breaks is blues.
I love that song.
You know, it's just blues. And then you've got Stairway to Heaven, which is like, I don't even know how you can describe Stairway to Heaven. It's everything. Other than to say it is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cliche for a reason.
But I mean, it is an
it's
absolute. It's not like Freebird, which is also a massive rock and roll anthem. But 11 out of 10 cover bands can do Freebird.
Right.
Now, did you do the math on that? 11 out of 10 bands can do Freebird. It's not a hard song to do.
2 out of 10 cover bands.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
That's a different matter altogether because somebody's got to sing what Plant is putting down. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to play what Jimmy Page is playing. Somebody's got to hammer those drums out like Bonham. Mm-hmm. And then, you got Jones at bass, which is probably because he's such a nondescript person, probably does not get
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
The recognition that he is due. But be that as it may, this album, if you just go by and look at the track list, Black Dog, Rock and Roll, then we get The Battle of Evermore, which was not a single, but is still a classic, well-known. We get Stairway to Heaven, which was way too long to be a single, and it is in the top 3 to 5 greatest rock and roll songs of all time on just about any list that you look at. Misty Mountain Hop.
Love that song.
Then you got 4 Sticks, which was named after John Bonham's use of using 2 sticks in a single hand. Then Going to California, and then When the Levee Breaks. Now, if you can find a weak link in that 8,
no skips.
I don't think you've got a musical bone in you. That is a masterpiece of an album. And so who would this be for? It's interesting how many people don't know Led Zeppelin that are my age and younger.
Really?
I mean, they know who they are, but they don't recognize that a song is Led Zeppelin until they've heard it.
Because their titles never match up.
Well, like even rock and roll, right now, rock and roll is on a commercial. It's like a car commercial or something. It's on all the time. And I bet most people don't know. They're like, I've heard that song, but they probably don't know that it's Led Zeppelin.
Right.
So if you've got somebody that is, probably towards the end of Gen X, because here's what's Led Zeppelin is a sad case because we really don't know how far Led Zeppelin would have gone because once John Bonham died, they just did not play together anymore. And they were still banging out incredible albums until the end. And they actually got along. They didn't have internal strife. I mean, they partied way too hard. But they could have been going on for another 10, 15 years. I mean, they could have been another Rolling Stones in terms of longevity if they would have all survived their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, it's a tragedy that John Bonham died because he passed away, but it's a tragedy to music because we don't know what music was left on the table. In that is as tragic as it is to lose a human life, and it is tragic. But when you lose people like Jimi Hendrix early, you wonder what songs did we not get. Mm-hmm. When Led Zeppelin broke up, what songs did we not get? And Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, what songs did we not get?
Yeah.
So, that's just thinking about it. What are we missing? What would they have done in the 80s?
Yeah.
How would they have shaped the 80s? Because they were still Led Zeppelin, by golly. I mean,
by golly.
But they were still putting out hit albums the same time the Eagles were.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And the 80s went very synthesizer. I cannot imagine Led Zeppelin doing just a ton of synthesizer in what they do.
No, but I think that
now John Paul Jones was a great
I think that
keyboard player.
I think that they would have evolved and been very
but
instrumental.
I think they would have shaped it differently.
Uh-huh. I do too.
And I think the way that synthesizer was used in the 80s might be different because of that. Mm-hmm. Because and Jimmy Page is a musical genius and a production genius. It would have been so interesting to see what they would have done with the new technology, but it is what it is. So anyway, Led Zeppelin 4 is my pick.
All right, my next pick, not a lot to say about this one because I've talked about it ad nauseum many times. It is 1987 debut album by Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. Five singles on this album. This is not one of them.
Gosh, the first line is
yeah. I love the kick in the teeth you're about to get.
Here we go.
I would just like to point out that every single person in the room, their head started bobbing. More cowbell, please.
Your daddy works at Fargo. Now his mom is not around.
All right, so that track is My Michelle. That is the opening track of the second side. So the track listing on this: Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy, Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, and Paradise City. Second side, My Michelle, Think About You, Sweet Child of Mine, You're Crazy, Anything Goes, and Rocket Queen. 5 singles: Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy, and Night Train, and Paradise City. And, of course, Sweet Child of Mine, which is probably, arguably, their most commercially successful song. I mean, you know how I feel about Appetite. I've argued for it being the best album of the past 50 years. It is arguably, in my opinion, the best debut album. It changed the game. It certainly changed hard rock / metal. I just literally no skips, played it through and through and through, time after time, just on repeat, and an absolute game changer. So,
and Axl's volatility, we could have had this show off between Nirvana and grunge versus, I really do believe this. I believe that if Guns N' Roses had stayed together, stayed the course, we could have had a real battle between Nirvana and grunge and Guns N' Roses and hard rock.
Yeah.
And it might have saved rock and roll.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Axl.
It's
Way
possible that Axl's volatility was the death knell for rock and roll. It's possible. Possible. But it is a great album. I agree.
There's not much to say about it.
It rocks, man.
Everyone needs to have it. Beth.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to go with a new release this year. So it's a current album, new release. This is F1 Trillion by Post Malone. The part you're going to hear is actually Hank Williams Jr. because it's like most of the songs are collaborations. So this is my favorite off of the CD called Finer Things.
I got a 50-foot pontoon, tripled up Ebbing Root, leaving me a tidal wave of weight when I flow through. Tripping on a solo of Pappy Reserve, Big H on the top of my getaway bird. Oh, turn up the rambling man till the whole lake knows I'm a Hank fan. I got a thing for the finer things. I'm in the deer blind with the diamond ring. My Lambo and my ammo's all camo green. Yeah, I got an F1 Trillion limousine. I got a 10-point blonde in the shotgun seat. I got a thing for the finer things. Yeah, I do.
So this one would be for your country music fan, and I think it's great for, a current country music fan and a fan of like 90s country or even, classic country because, like I said, most of the songs on this album are collaborations, and he's got, icons and superstars like Dolly, Hank Jr., Stapleton, but he's also got, current stars, Lainey Wilson, Jelly Roll, Luke Combs, a wide range of really great country artists. He also has a single with Morgan Wallen, and that's a choice that he made, and that's fine. The song is really good.
Yeah.
You don't like Morgan Wallen?
No. I think he's a massive turd. But anyway.
Oh, so it's not a musical decision.
And he also puts out massive turds. That's my opinion.
He has kind of
You can have a different opinion.
Like Post Malone has kind of in my heart has kind of replaced Dave Grohl as like my favorite personality.
Oh, I love Post Malone.
He's so polite. He's so kind. He's so appreciative of every artist that he works with.
Yeah.
And
especially you can tell like he is a fan of country music. And so him coming at people had thoughts about Beyonce doing a country album, and say about that what you will. But one thing about him is, he's from Texas. Yeah. He loves, so she is also, too, but he loves the Dallas Cowboys. He is unapologetically, kind of has been country for a long time. And there was a performance, I don't know, a couple years ago from maybe a year or so ago from maybe the last CMAs where he did with Morgan Wallen and Hardy, and then Post Malone comes out. They're doing a Joe Diffie tribute. And he came out, and it's really like when Post Malone is the best country singer of those three people. Like that's a sad commentary on current country music, but I don't care for either one of those other two artists.
I'm hopeful. Here's one thing that rap has always done better than country is the compilations, bringing people together to do, that's been going on in rap now for decades. I mean, that has always been a major part of the hip hop culture, is bringing in a bunch of different people to collaborate on your albums. That is not necessarily been the case with country artists. I mean, most of the time when you do an album, it's just you on the album. But to see guys like Jelly Roll and Post Malone start to do that's a part of hip hop culture that I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of rap in my country, but that is an element of the culture that I would like to see. I would like to see, country artists do more duets, do more group work together.
Yeah. And it's obvious that people want to work with him. Everybody from Taylor Swift to, Dolly, to, kind of like when Dolly made her rock album, these people are like, I'll be on your rock album because you're Dolly Parton and I like you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
he just seems like he's an easy person to work, and he writes really catchy songs. And I'm not a huge Blake Shelton fan either, but the song, I mean, there are no skips, so that's my opinion. I obviously like all these, but so what I would say, if you're going to listen to a few of these, Finer Things with Hank Jr., Pour Me a Drink with Blake Shelton, and then I Had Some Help with Morgan Wallen. That's the one that's the single that's out right now. So, listen to that new release, F1 Trillion by Post Malone.
Did you mention a 90s country fan?
I did.
I'm a 90s country fan. And I just so happen to have a 90s country album.
Shocker.
Next on the list. Alan Jackson, A Lot About Living, Little About Love.
Ooh.
This is Tonight I Climbed the Wall.
Making love is so much sweeter when you love the one you hold. After all these years of holding her, you think by now I'd know. Now as we lie here together, all our troubles seem so small. Just these satin sheets between us, 'cause tonight I climbed the wall.
Here's the chorus.
Tonight I climbed the wall, took her by the hand.
All right, so Alan Jackson, always my favorite country artist growing up from the jump. And this album, really, 10 songs on the album. 5 of them hit the top 5. 2 of them went number 1. And honestly, the other songs, just nobody releases 10 singles, off the same album. But any of them could have been. Of course, part of it is Alan Jackson was so hot at the time. I mean, he could have released a song full of farts and burps, and it would have gone to number 4. I mean, he was just he could do no wrong. This was 92, by the way. But this album, and Alan Jackson, more than maybe anybody in the 90s, was modernized with 90s country sensibilities, but you could still hear the classics in that traditional sound in what he was doing. And so, like, his favorite artist, he would tell you, no doubt, was George Jones. He was a huge George Jones fan. I mean, he still is a huge George Jones, just George Jones not with us anymore. And like, I could hear maybe George Jones doing this song, Tonight I Climbed the Wall, and just doing a fantastic job on it. Had those, you can hear the steel guitar, the big slides, very traditional sound. He was also a Buck Owens fan, and he had a song, I'm Up to My Ears in Tears. And I can, it's up to my ears in tears. And I mean, like, you could hear, like, the way, Buck, I could just, like, that is a Buck Owens, Bakersfield sound song all day long. So, you know, and then of course the big song off of this was Chattahoochee. That was the big number one massive hit. It was Song of the Year. He won Entertainer of the Year. I mean, it was the biggest song of 1992 by a long shot. So what I would say is if you've got some folks, if you got a 90s country music fan that is starting a record collection, this is one of the best country music albums of the 90s. This would be a great start.
Got my favorite Alan Jackson song.
What's your favorite Alan Jackson?
Mercury Blues.
Oh, Mercury Blues is good. I mean, okay, so it's got Chattahoochee. She's got the rhythm and I got the blues. I love that song. I mean, and actually, George Jones has a cameo in that, as it turns out. Tonight I Climb the Wall. I Don't Need the Booze to Get a Buzz On. That was not a single, but I love that song. Who Says You Can't Have It All? That was a single. Up to My Ears in Tears. A Tropical Depression is probably my least favorite song on the track, and I still love it. It's just a little corny. But it's and that one was, I believe, actually released. Living on Love.
Oh.
I mean, how good is that? That's a great one.
Great one.
And of course, you mentioned Mercury Blues. So yeah, this is a no skipper all the way. Also, if you've got a relatively new country fan, Alan Jackson is a great bridge to the past because he is neo-traditional country is what he's classified as. And so if you're trying to get a new country fan, let's say they're a millennial or Gen Z, and they listen to modern country, Alan Jackson is a great bridge to get them to Waylon Jennings, a great bridge to get them to George Jones, to get them to outlaw country, because he brings in a lot of those elements while still being recognizable to the folks that are playing today. So excellent gift option for country music fans, young and old.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of old, I mean, here we are. Anyway, this is the newest of my picks. Now, if I don't know what to even say about this album, it was You Love a Girl Power?
I do.
This is Jagged Little Pill.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
So 9 Grammy nominations in.
It's not old. That's not in school.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Newsflash. Got bad news for you. It won 5 of those Grammys: Album of the Year, Best Rock Album, Best Female Rock Vocal, Best Rock Song, Best Music Video. It's over 10 times platinum. It's one of the best-selling albums of all time. 9 tracks on this album, 6 singles. The track listing is All I Really Want, You Ought to Know, Perfect, Hand in My Pocket, Right Through You, Forgiven, You Learn, Head Over Feet, Mary Jane, Ironic, Not the Doctor, and Wake Up. It is, and it's all over the place, which is great because it really showcased her departure. She was doing this whole kind of genre switch before Taylor was doing it, before, Beyonce was doing it. She was a Canadian pop star, television star, and she really just got down to songwriting basics, and she and Glenn Ballard just knocked this album out, and they just wrote what they knew. It's very emotional. It's very raw. It's very simple, straight, and to the point. And the track that I want to play is called Perfect, which may be my favorite song on the album. And it's not released as a single.
Sometimes it's never quite enough. If you're flawless, then you're in my love. Don't forget to win first place. Don't forget to keep that smile. got to measure up. Make me prouder.
So this song, I think that you should, this would be great for the, Gen X millennial parent, because this song in particular is so interesting to listen to. The first time I listened to it, I was in college. And you're trying to make your way. You're trying, sometimes it's never quite enough. If you're flawless, then you'll win my love. Don't forget to win first place. Don't forget to keep that smile on your face. You've got to measure up. Make me prouder. And you're listening to it really from the point of view of a child, and I know a lot of high school kids probably just sat in their room and cried along to this song, and then 30 years passed when you have children, you think, is this me? Is this what I'm doing? Is this what, in the interest of pushing and trying to make your child better, are you, trying to put yourself back in those shoes, and that's good songwriting.
Yeah.
That's just good songwriting when you can look at it from different perspectives. And, of course there are the, you ought to knows and the, all I really want, the way this album just starts off, it's just so 90s, and it holds up amazingly well. And I think people forget about it sometimes. And so I'm putting it back on your radar. Jagged Little Pill.
Definitely one of the best albums that came out when I was in school. There's no question.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to end it with another 90s album as well. So we're just going to keep going. 90s Country. Mm-hmm. This album is a great gift for any 90s country fan, any female, because it's got some great girl power songs on it, or really any human being in general. It is...
All the humans.
Yes. It is Come On Over by Shania Twain.
It is a great album. What year is this?
97.
A broken nail open in the mail. I cursed out loud cause it hurt like hell. This job's a pain, it's so mundane. It sure don't stimulate my brain. This job ain't worth the pay. Can't wait till the end of the day.
That sounds like Def Leppard.
Hey, honey.
Expectation, right, of the man coming home from work and, hey, honey, give me this, honey, give me that, make me feel relaxed after work. And she does that with a few songs on this album. This has Man, I Feel Like a Woman, and some other that don't impress me much, other songs that are absolutely massive for her. There were 16 tracks and 12 of them were released as singles.
Dang.
So she's got those songs, and there's a lot of humor in some of these, but then she's got like Black Eyes Blue Tears. That's a statement on abuse in a relationship. Love songs. You've Got a Way is a great song. This also has You're Still the One, which is a huge wedding song still. Breakup songs, girl anthems, just hit after hit on this album. So some of my favorites are Love Gets Me Every Time. That's a great one. Honey, I'm Home, which you just listened to, and Holding On to Love to Save My Life. And this is the second best-selling album by a female artist ever, behind only Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard. So, and Shania, you know, she gets a lot of flack for being poppy or whatever. She really did shape the, you know, how women in country, especially going forward, could be a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more, you know, address things. It's not just like, oh, I'm pining over this man or, you know, whatever. She's really putting her, I mean, Loretta and Dolly, like they were all also doing that. Patsy Cline, but
when you look like that,
when you look like that.
But what is insane is that
she's beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
she has sold more albums than any country artist in history not named Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we sit here and talk about Mount Rushmore people,
Oh, for
and
sure.
we start throwing, I mean, everybody wants to throw Willie and Johnny Cash and Hank Williams and Garth Brooks and Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton. I mean, if you did it by album sales,
Yeah.
she's sitting where Abraham Lincoln is on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And I think Sean and I, the light bulb went on at the same time. You know, I mentioned Def Leppard. Mutt Lange is the producer for both
Right.
And
Def Leppard and Shania Twain.
And his fingerprints are all over this
Yeah.
for sure, which is unfortunate because of how that turned out. But
Yeah.
Well, it's not a, hey, she's
not
laughing all the way
unfortunate
to the
for
bank.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, let's stay in country.
Oh, okay.
Let's make it a little bit more modern.
Really?
I want to bring it back. Going to bring it back 2023. That's pretty modern.
I'm impressed.
That's pretty modern. And to call it a country album is a little bit of a disservice. It's just a great album, and there's so many elements to it. It's the Warren Treaty Lover's Game.
Yeah.
This is Yesterday's Burn.
Tell me what's wrong. Who hurt you, baby? Lay in my arms, and I'll serenade you until the sorrow is gone, never to return. Well, at least by tomorrow you won't feel yesterday's burn.
I love that church organ back there, man. So
Well, at least by
let's just who would this appeal to? Country fans, soul fans, gospel fans. There are multiple songs on this album that could very easily have ended up on our baby making songs because these two can sing a love song together. Now, they are a married couple, and, you know, we've talked about the chemistry that, like, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw have. When you watch these two on stage or you watch the music video, you can tell that there is very real love chemistry between the two. It's very powerful to watch, powerful to listen to. It is, and 2023 was actually for me a good year for country music albums. I can think of three right off the hand that were really good. They didn't get the same airplay that a lot of the other ones did because that's not them. This was by far the biggest. This one actually got awards at the Country Music Association and stuff like that. I mean, they were actually winning country music awards, which is great. 2023 had Altitude by Marty Stewart, which was a great album. It had Little Songs by Colter Wall, but this is my favorite country album probably in the last 10 years. And just if I can't imagine somebody not liking it. I can't imagine it because almost everybody is going to love either soul or country. And then when you blend them together with real chemistry, and these two voices are absolutely insane. I mean, they are incredible individually. And then you put them together and it's just a different feel altogether. But if you like Chris Stapleton, you're probably going to like this album. If you like Ray Charles, you're probably going to like this album. If you like George Jones, you're probably going to like this album. And so that's why this is a great album as a gift for just about anybody if they are willing to listen to an artist with an open mind and they love music for music's sake. This is probably going to touch that person because they are just that good, and they are going to reach a broad range. That's one of the reasons I included it. They're going to reach a broad range of musical interest, whether you like R&B or whether you like country. This album is going to appeal to you, and it's one of my. It is routinely played on my Spotify. I mean, routinely on my. When I'm in the car alone, this album gets played a lot. So that's my selection, and I believe we have chosen them all. We've got all 15 songs, do we not?
Yep.
So, Beth, do you want to recap this again?
Okay.
If you have people that you haven't shopped for, you've got just a little bit of time left, they're music lovers, write these down because you may have a little gem in there to come away and help somebody with their vinyl album collection.
All right. So my recommendations were Gifts from the Holy Ghost by Dorothy, The Outsiders by Need to Breathe, Brand New Eyes by Paramore, F1 Trillion by Post Malone, and Come On Over by Shania Twain. Ben's recommendations are Jesus Christ Superstar by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, All Eyes on Me by Tupac, Led Zeppelin 4, obviously by Led Zeppelin, A Lot About Living, A Little About Love by Alan Jackson, and Lover's Game by The War and Treaty. And Heather has recommended Abbey Road by The Beatles, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, Hotel California by Eagles, Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, and Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette.
All right, so we hope everybody enjoyed that. We helped somebody out there get some Christmas presents done before we hit the Christmas tree and the eggnog a little bit there. Do I not make a good eggnog?
You do.
You make a strong eggnog.
I do make a strong eggnog, but it does not taste like pancake batter.
That's
It
true.
tastes pretty good. I think. I think it's pretty good. So I'm getting ready for that. Oh boy, that'll warm you up inside on a cold night. That eggnog will. So listen, before we go, we want you to please like and share our content. It does a big service to us, helps us spread our podcast around. We want to invite you to engage with us on social media. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and we do have a YouTube channel. So please locate us, get in touch with us. Do we have a comment?
No, not this week.
Not this week. We're not calling anybody out. In the spirit of good cheer, we're not calling anybody out this week.
Merry Christmas.
So, Merry Christmas, and we will see you for season 4.
Wait.
No.
After Christmas.
No,
We
that's
still have
right.
the Christmas episode.
We got the Christmas episode. Oh, that's right. We'll see you right before Christmas.
Thanks for joining us on the Music List podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
She almost had it.